We're still on verse 35, Surat Al-Ahzab. Verse 35 reads, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. Now, we said that one of the explanations is that the Sahabiya Amara, she said ما أرى كل شيء إلا للرجال. He says, like, I see everything for men or addressing the men. ما أرى النساء يذكرن في شيء. I don't see women being mentioned. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to honor the women, and in response to that revealed the believing men, then the believing women. The Muslim men, Muslim women, believing men, believing women, fasting men, fasting women. Kept mentioning the women to honor them by mentioning them specifically. That's one thing. Now we said that in general, the scholars say that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the men, it includes the women, unless it's something specific to males only. But when the men are commanded to fast, the women are commanded to fast automatically. And they said Allah Azza wa Jal, one of the wisdoms behind why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will refer to the whole ummah in the masculine form, because we all came from one soul, and that was Adam alayhi salam, who was a male, and then from that he created his spouse, and so on. Then the other thing is, some Mufassirin said something nice also. Because if you remember, we were doing a number of verses directly addressing the mothers of the believers, the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. So some scholars said, verse 35 then mentions the women like that, because the previous ayat were specifically talking about the mothers of the believers, and so here Allah Azza wa Jal purposely wanted to address all women. All women, not just the mothers of the believers. So he purposely mentioned the female in each one of these actions. Alright? So it starts off with, and this is recapping, I guess, in a way, إِنَّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ. It starts by the Muslim men and the Muslim women. And so this is the, as we said, lower level, and then higher level than that, وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, and then the believing men and the believing women. And then we spoke about Islam versus Iman. Are they one and the same? And we looked at different opinions. We said some group of scholars said it's the same. Islam is the same thing as Iman. Others said that إِذَا اجْتَمَعَ افْتَرَقَا. And if they're mentioned together, they obviously refer to different things. And if they're mentioned separately, they can refer to the same thing. Then we said, some said Iman is internal and Islam is external. And they even cite when Jibreel alayhi salam, the famous hadith of Jibreel, asked the Prophet ﷺ, what is Islam? The Prophet ﷺ mentioned the 5 pillars of Islam. When he mentioned what is Iman, he mentioned the 6 pillars of Iman. He didn't mention the same thing. He's mentioning different things. It means there's a difference. And so when we look at the 6 pillars of Iman, we find them to be internal. So the definition of external versus internal, it's not a bad definition, right? And some even argued the hadith of the Iman decreasing or the Iman leaving during zina wal-'iyadhu billah, the hadith of لا يزني الزاني حين يزني وهو مؤمن. So the zani, the one who commits fornication, doesn't do it while he is a mu'min, a believer. And so the other hadith describes that the Iman leaves him and hovers above him. And I'm going fast, I know, this is just review, right? Like a cloud, كَانَ عَلَيْهِ كَالظُّلَّةِ. So some even use this hadith and said, if this was the same as Islam, then you would say Islam left him, and he became a kafir for that time period, or what happened. Then we said that it's not accurate to translate Iman as belief, like to believe in something, right? Who could tell us why? We even use an example with Iblis. Anybody? We don't use the word Iman to mean you believe in the existence of something. That's it. There's more than that in the word Iman, right? Remember we said, I don't use Iman to say I believe that Iblis exists. I believe Iblis exists, but I don't say I have Iman in Iblis. Remember? Because we said when you have iman in something, it also shows that you have a degree of trust in it and reverence, and you revere that thing. So it's not just meaning that I believe in the existence of something. I don't have iman in Iblis, but I have iman in Allah Azza wa Jal. Yeah. Okay. So إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات. We said القانت العابد المطيع, the obedient worshipper. Also وقيل يعني المداومين على العبادة والطاعة, those who are consistent upon worship, devout worship and obedience to Allah. So al-qunut, consistency in worship and in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we looked at a number of verses. أمن هو قانت آناء الليل ساجدا وقائما, يعني as for the one who is qanit, prostrating himself or standing in the middle of the night. And we looked at a number of verses mentioning qunut. وَلَهُ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كُلٌّ لَهُ قَانِتُونَ. And to him is all, يعني all that are in the heavens and the earth, all who are in the heavens and the earth, all of them are qanitun to him, consistent in their obedience to him, consistent in their worship of him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, then وَالصَّادِقِينَ وَالصَّادِقَاتِ. And we said here, the sadiq is the one who speaks the truth, then avoids lying, and is keen to fulfill whatever promises, covenants, oaths, whatever he has between him and people, between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was a hadith that we didn't mention last time. It's a famous hadith of honesty, but it's so beautiful. So, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Alaykum bis-sidq," meaning it's like saying, be truthful. فَإِنَّ الصِّدْقِ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْبِرِّ. For truthfulness leads to righteousness. وَإِنَّ الْبِرَّ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. And righteousness leads to al-Jannah. So be truthful. Truthfulness leads to righteousness. Righteousness leads to al-Jannah. وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَالْكَذِبِ. And beware of lying. So then, فَإِنَّ الْكَذِبَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْفُجُورِ. So indeed, the Prophet ﷺ says, lying leads to immorality. وَالْفُجُورِ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ. And immorality leads to the hellfire. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَلَا يَزَالُ الرَّجُلُ. This is the part we want, yeah? وَلَا يَزَالُ الرَّجُلُ يَصْدُقُ وَيَتَحَرَّ الصِّدْقِ حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ صِدِّيقًا. And a man, and of course it means woman also, and a man will continue to be truthful, yeah? So he will strive and continue to be truthful until he is recorded with Allah as someone who is truthful, as a truthful person. Yeah? Then, وَلَا يَزَالُ الرَّجُلُ يَكْذِبُ وَيَتَحَرَّى الْكَذِبِ حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَذَّابًا. And a man will lie and keep telling lies, continue to lie until he's written with Allah as a liar. It's really, really powerful, this hadith. I'm going to have to break. I'm going to tell you about this khutbah I attended. This is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best khatibs, at least in the Arabic language. Maybe in North America or something. This was a Sheikh in Virginia, and he only gives khutbah in Arabic. So even if I tell you his name, you won't find his stuff online. But he was a powerful khatib. And he gave this one khutbah one time about lying. Alright? And it was not one of those khutbah where people went up to him and shook his hand and thank you so much, I really enjoyed the khutbah. Because the khutbah either made you feel horrible, or you were one of the very few people that just didn't feel anything, you know. The khutbah was about lying. And he starts off the khutbah, and he's speaking in Arabic, he's like, Isma'ni ya kadhab, ana dayfuka al-yawm. He's like, listen to me, O liar. Our khutbah today is lying. So you liar in the audience, I am your guest today. Will you allow me into your home? And he's like starting this introduction by he keeps addressing the liar in the audience. So you're sitting in that audience and you're thinking, if I'm lying, then he's talking to me. Then I'm a liar. And it's such a bad thing. If you were known as the liar in the community, and everyone just didn't even remember your name, just called you the liar. You pray Isha with everybody, and hey Kadhab, kif halak, how are you doing? Hey Kadhab, can you give me the water please? Jazakallah khair, it's right next to you. Imagine that, how irate, how upset would you be if you were just labeled as a liar by the community? Incredibly angry, yes, incredibly upset. But this hadith is amazing because a man will lie and continue to lie until he's recorded with Allah as a liar. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the individual or looks at you, that's what He sees, this label, liar. And we would hate for the community to label us the liar. How about if Allah Azza wa Jal labeled us as a liar? Because we lie a lot. And of course, most people don't think they lie, and most people think they're good people, and that's how people are. They see themselves always in a positive way. And I think I referenced that study where they interviewed all these serial killers in prison, and every single one of them believed that they were a good person. People always see themselves as good people, and that's why muhasabat al-nafs, and when you sit and you're just honest and you keep it real, as they say, with yourself, you get that nonsense out of there, and you see, how am I really with people? How am I really? Am I an honest person, or do I lie? Or do I just label and color my lies in different ways so I don't feel bad about them? Yeah, this was a white lie. This one was April Fool's. You know, the angels don't write during April Fool's Day. All this nonsense. So, if you lie every now and then, they don't have to be big lies. And people think that, well, I don't lie. It's just these little things where I tell the guy I'm here and I'm not really there. Just little things. But these are lies, and they pile up. And if you continue lying, and for years you've been lying, you're labeled with Allah. What if you're labeled with Allah as a liar? And Allah Azza wa Jalla looks at you and sees the liar every time. Nobody wants that ever. SubhanAllah, that khutbah was so powerful that I probably guarantee that most people sitting in that audience said, I will never ever tell a lie again. I don't care what happens. I get fired, whatever happens, I'm not going to lie again. And be labeled a liar with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one study said that the average adult lies 2 to 3 times a day. Just, can you imagine that? And they're just, again, we don't believe in coloring lies or white lies, but we think these lies that don't hurt anyone are innocent and acceptable, you know. And so, for example, there was one study that showed that when cell phones became prominent, people started lying more. Because in the old days, let's say if I'm going to meet someone somewhere, I only had my home phone, my landline. So if he called me, where are you? He knows exactly where I am. I'm at home. But now what happens? The guy's in his bed, he's like, yeah, I'm getting on the highway soon, inshallah. You're not getting on the highway soon. You're not. Yeah. I remember, honestly, the example works. Just a few months ago, I was, in some city. So I don't know the city, and some brother is taking me to the speaking event at the masjid, and we were a bit late. Okay, so he answers the phone, and he's like, yeah, I'm just passing by the casino. I don't know this city. He said, yeah, I'm just passing by the casino. We're driving, and 6 minutes later, I see a big casino on the left. Were you just passing by? You weren't just passing by the casino. But what happens is that even a religious brother will just say this is like, I don't mean I'm now passing by, but I will soon be. But you didn't say that. You didn't say that. So these lies that don't result in someone getting murdered, we think they're just innocent lies. I lied about potatoes, I lied about tomatoes. So khalas, small things. Okay, but which angel writes it down? The one on the right or the left? The one on the left. There's no way the one on the right puts it down passing by the casino. The one on the left. And if the one on the left writes it down, it's a lie and it's recorded. And they keep piling up like that. What will you be labeled with Allah Azza wa Jal? That's why it's such a big deal. No matter how big or how small. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make our tongues truthful. And that we sincerely resolve not to tell lies at all. Not about anything. Not big things, not small things. Not to Muslims or non-Muslims. This is another thing. Some people, mashallah, sidq and amana with believers. It's a non-Muslim, I can just lie. Wallah, homework. I used to know a lot of religious people cheating homework from each other. It's just dunya. Let's rob a bank, it's just dunya. These are not... I'm reprimanding everybody like as if they're lying, so let's just move on. I'm just saying, okay? Not accusing anyone of being a liar, but you just find it very common amongst people. If it's common amongst the guys who don't pray, who cares? I'm talking about, sometimes amongst religious people, the religious community, and you find people telling lies here and there very casually, or joking with lies. Don't do that also. Now,
Sheikh, you don't have to ask this. What about when you're preserving someone's feelings? Your mother is your child in response. Oh, the food wasn't good.
Okay, yeah. Tfaddali, you want to go ahead? You couldn't hold it in. Go for it. Huh? All right. So what are the 3 scenarios where you're allowed to lie? to create peace between two people. Yani, two brothers got into a fight. So you go to him, he's like, you know what, he feels really bad and he actually wants to make up with you. He didn't say that. He said he doesn't want to make up with it. You go to the other guy, he feels so bad that he did that to you, and he actually wants to apologize and wants to make up. You lied to the two so they can make peace. That's what, because making peace between the believers or between people is a bigger issue here, right? Then at times of war, right? And then you have a lot of these so-called religious brothers lying and stuff. Oh, Jews. There is no war happening, okay? Yes, but they're bombing Afghanistan. Yeah, but that's not the same thing. You're going to go rob a bank because they're bombing Afghanistan? And I know this sounds silly, but there is an area in America, and I can tell you exactly where it is, where they started robbing banks because they used the hadith of Abu Basir. Can you believe it? المهم. طيب. The third one is, we got a fist here, to the wife. That doesn't mean this guy is out fooling around or out in the town, and then he comes at night and she's like, where were you? We're at a meeting at the masjid, alhamdulillah. That's not what it means. It means simple things. Your wife asks you, do you think I'm the most beautiful woman in the world? And you tell her, yes. But try to just play it well. Or, did you like the food? The food was delicious. It was a meal fit for a prince. Here, prince. Here, boy. Anyways. طيب. She's not here. I can be brave when she's not here. Okay. But المهم, I guess we spent a bit of time on this issue of being truthful and just being labeled as truthful with Allah Azza wa Jal. And we don't want to tell lies no matter what color, white lies, polka dot lies, innocent lies, and then they pile up against us and we're labeled a liar with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very serious issue, very serious issue. So, وَالصَّادِقِينَ وَالصَّادِقَاتِ, those who are truthful in speech, they avoid lying, and they also keep whatever covenant, oath, deal, promise they made with people. Then وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَالصَّابِرَاتِ, and we spoke about patience for a while, and we spoke about how people don't like to be told to be patient, and because being patient is difficult. But وَالصَّابِرِينَ, the men who are patient and the women who are patient. وَالْخَاشِعِينَ وَالْخَاشِعَاتِ, and is this where we stopped? Khushu'? Yeah. We said والخاشعين, the خاشع person, they would be the المتواضعان لله الخائفان منه الخاضعان. خضوع, that they have خضوع, they have, sometimes we translate خشوع as humility, and sometimes, what are the other translations sometimes? Humility, awareness, humility, khushu', awareness, humility. In salah, focus, sometimes they call it when it's in salah. But al-khudu' is to be obedient, so have obedience, submissiveness, to be compliant, to be yielding, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is your khudu', to be khadi', to be submissive, to be submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So khushu' is to have khudu', to have fear, to have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these put together create what is known as khushu'. So وَالْخَاشِعِينَ وَالْخَاشِعَاتِ. And the scholars mentioned that one of the things that will generate or motivate a person to be from those who have khushu', and we're talking not in salah all the time, is to be aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly watching. And I think that's what we spoke about last Tuesday after Isha, right? We spoke about Allah Azza wa Jal watching. First and foremost, Allah is a witness over your actions, over your sayings, your deeds, good and bad. And then we said the angels on the right and left that are with you all the time, and they witness your deeds and they record them. Then there are two angels in front and behind that are with you 24/7, but they'll also witness what you do. Then forget that. The fact that they're with you, 4 of them, 24/7, if you could see them, you would never feel alone, ever. If you could see them, you would never feel alone, you would never be able to commit a sin. But they're there, you should behave as if you see them. As if you see them. And that's what the righteous before us, they behaved as if they could see the unseen. Then there are other angels who you encounter them in your life and they bear witness and testify to what they saw of your deeds. Remember we said the hadith of the angels witnessing you learning the book of Allah, then they ascend up to Allah Azza wa Jal, mention you by name and the name of your parents, and so they witness that you did this good deed on the day of Friday before the Imam ascends the mimbar. 2 angels are at the door making dua for people who come, but once the Imam ascends the mimbar, they don't come in again. Now if you could walk by an angel and hear the angel make dua for you because you came early, would you be late next Jum'ah? If you could actually see an angel make dua for you like this, because you came early, would you come at the middle of the khutbah next Friday? You wouldn't. But you know it's there, so behave like you can see the unseen. So the angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching. We said the inanimate objects. If you remember last week, that's what we spoke about. The inanimate objects also will bear witness to what you say and what you do, good and bad. Then your body and your own limbs. Because it's repetition, I'm not going into all of that. So, وَالْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقَاتِ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ وَالْمُتَصَدِّقَاتِ. And without translation, you can guess what that means, right? Sadaqah, mutasaddiq, the one who gives sadaqah, and mutasaddiqat, the women who give in sadaqah. Now, some interesting things about sadaqah, and even this word sadaqah, يعني لماذا سميت صدقة? Why was it given this name of sadaqah? Because they said لأنها تؤكد صدق الإنسان, because it affirms or confirms the truthfulness. صدق, truthfulness. Sadaqah, from truthfulness. Because when you give it, if you're not giving it to show off, if you're not giving it for your reputation to boast or anything, you're giving it sincerely and honestly for Allah Azza wa Jal. Wouldn't it mean that? Yes or no? And if I'm not giving to show off, then I must be truthful in giving. Yes or no? Because otherwise we love to keep our money with us. We love to keep our wealth. What's the reason I take this money that I can use on myself or on my children or on my home and give it to somebody else? What would be the reason? There would be no reason unless I'm really truthful. We said push aside showing off. Then I would have to be truthful. True or false? Yeah? So sadaqah was named so because it shows and it proves the truthfulness of the individual. And there are many benefits that we've been told about giving sadaqah. Many benefits that happen to us. And all these things were put there just to encourage us to give sadaqah. Because the whole idea is that it's hard to do this. You always want to keep for yourself, keep for your children, keep for your future, keep for a rainy day. So because it's so hard to give, and we're inclined to this dunya, we came from it, remember? We inclined towards it. So Allah Azza wa Jal gave us all these incentives so we can keep giving for His sake. Just a few of them. One is that the sadaqah, you will be under its shade on the day of judgment. On a day in which there is no shade except that provided by Allah Azza wa Jal. So the sadaqah comes and shields you from the sun, from the heat on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, the sadaqah comes to shield you. That's one. Number two, giving in sadaqah puts out the anger of Allah Azza wa Jal. The hadith in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, An-Nabi ﷺ said, إِنَّ الصَّدَقَةَ لَتُطْفِئُ غَضَبَ الرَّبِّ. Everyone with me today? إِنَّ الصَّدَقَةَ لَتُطْفِئُ غَضَبَ الرَّبِّ. That indeed the charity extinguishes. Tutfi' is the word you use when you pour water over a fire. So if I have fire here and I pour water over it, how much fire is left? There isn't anything. Extinguishes. Extinguish, يعني خلاص, it's gone. It doesn't say decreases, يعني assuages, lowers. لا. Extinguishes. So, إِنَّ الصَّدَقَةَ لَتُطْفِئُ غَضَبَ الرَّبِّ. When I give sadaqah, it completely puts out the anger of Allah Azza wa Jal towards me. So then here, the scholars used to do something brilliant. Everybody with me? This is a beautiful gem. The scholars used to do something brilliant. Whenever they wanted to go and make long dua to Allah, or just any dua to Allah, what would they do first? Why? What is one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not answer your dua? Yani if Allah Azza wa Jalla is angered with someone, do you think that might be, we don't know for sure, but could it be one of the reasons why Allah will not answer his dua? Allah's anger with someone will not answer his dua. Does that make sense? But so these scholars would go give sadaqah and then sit and make dua. Smart or what? Nobody looks excited. That's brilliant.
There's nothing specified.
Huh? Ish?
There's nothing specified the amount either. So.
Yeah, nothing about the amount either. Yeah, it's like $1,000, we'll get you, you're in the clear. The guy's like, has 900. Can I borrow 100? Like, nah. Still owe me from last week. You get the idea, you guys? Yani it's so brilliant that, you know, I'm going to the masjid, I've got this issue I want to make, I'm going to give sadaqah first, take Allah's anger away from me. So inshallah, as I'm sitting there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not angry with me. Smart formula for getting your dua answered. Okay, nobody looks thrilled. Maybe nobody looks thrilled because you guys already know this stuff. Yeah, I just learned it and I think it's great. You guys are like, I've known this for 5 years. Sah? Okay, maybe that's it. All right. The other thing is, giving in sadaqah increases blessing in your wealth, blesses your wealth. Then giving in sadaqah increases your wealth. So it purifies your wealth, it blesses your wealth, and increases your wealth. They're not all the same thing. They're completely different things. Right? You agree? All right. Then it protects you from having a bad death, a bad end. We all want to die and leave this earth with a good end. True or false? Yeah? And I think for believing men and women, it's always one of the main things in their mind. True? We always think about that. We always want to make sure we leave this earth doing something good. Either in sujood or in hajj or in umrah or in talbiyah or in dua or teaching. But we don't want to die, you know, in our car listening to Michael Jackson or something. Rough night. Anyways, what's the proof? The same hadith, إِنَّ الصَّدَقَ لَتُطْفِئُ غَضَبَ الرَّبِّ. It continues, وَتَدْفَعُ مِيتَةَ السُّوء. وَتَدْفَعُ مِيتَةَ السُّوء. And it pushes away the bad death. Giving the sadaqah pushes away bad death. This is the same hadith we mentioned earlier in At-Tirmidhi. There's another hadith narrated by Tabarani, صَنَائِعُ الْمَعْرُوفِ تَقِي أيوة مَصَارِعَ السُّوء. Very good. That the good deeds, they prevent or protect from bad death. Bad deaths. Okay. Then another hadith, another benefit also. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَالصَّدَقَةُ تُطْفِئُ الْخَطِيئَ كَمَا يُطْفِئُ الْمَاءُ النَّارِ. The sadaqah extinguishes the bad deed. Yani erases, gets rid of the bad deed the same way water extinguishes fire. Okay. Then what is interesting is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also made another deal, and that is you get it back. You get your sadaqah back. And all these things, the shade of the throne, increases your wealth, increases the blessings, purifies your wealth. All this is just so that we can give because we're so attached to it. And Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to encourage us to separate, to part ways with our wealth. So on top of all that, you get it back. And it's just crazy how you get your sadaqah back, you know. I'll tell you a personal story, but it stays between us, yeah. So I went to this event and also everyone online, yeah. I went to this event, and it was this Islamic school, and they wanted me to just give a speech, and then someone's going to fundraise. And you know, you don't know this community, but you can understand what's going on. You see the staff, and you see the concern in their faces. They're running around and handing out envelopes, and you see they want this fundraiser to work, right? And it's just so, you can tell they dedicated to the school, and they want the community to give, and everybody's giving, and I'm like, you know something, I can't be standing here just talking about giving and stuff and then not give. Just get on the plane and just leave tomorrow. It's not right, sir. Now, and I know, like, this was before Ramadan, and I know until Ramadan, like, I don't have any income coming. So if I do math, but I learned a lesson. Don't do math with Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, don't ever do math with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, I know I have no income coming from now until Ramadan. And I know exactly have enough just to cover this rent and what have you. So I said, okay, if I give 1,000 now, I'm in the let's keep it real. I'm in the hole for 1,000, right? And okay, where am I going to get it? I don't have any work from now to Ramadan. Where am I going to get it from? I said, okay, but you stand here and you tell people, give and Allah will give you back and trust in Allah. You got it. Okay then. So I said, forget this nonsense. Yallah, I'll give 1,000, so, inshallah. So then the principal's like, you give 1,000. This is my school, I'll give 1,000 too. Then the speaker got embarrassed, like, I'll give 1,000 too. The fundraiser gave 1,000. Okay, great. So I'm like, okay, I know it's going to come. I don't know where it's going to come because I don't have anything until Ramadan, but it's going to come from somewhere, right? This was nighttime. In the morning, I had an early flight, went to the airport, I got there, and the guy's like, "Oh, this flight. This is at the what is it? The booth, not the booth. The gate." The guy's like, "Oh, this flight. This plane is heavy, so we're gonna have to take some passengers off to make it lighter." And I don't know what made it heavy, but it had a big dinner or something like that. So they're like, "The plane is heavy. So we're going to put you on another flight that's just 1 hour later, and it goes through Dallas." But Dallas is inferior, but it's okay. Just for passing through, it's not a problem, right? Kidding. So just 1 hour difference, yani. And then it arrives in Houston, almost the same, just an hour later or something like that. And they said, "And because of the delay, sir, they gave me a check instantly right then and there for $1,147. Just like I knew it was going to come at some point, but I didn't think it was next morning like that. You know? Next morning. And more, 147 more. Just for some sushi and lunch. And, you know. What's interesting is when we were in New York for Ramadan, in our masjid I was telling people this story, and just, you know, we were trying to fundraise. It's a small masjid, and, you know. And your audience, it's not like in other cities. New York City is kind of different. So, you know, in most cities, you sit down and you fundraise, and you're talking to doctors and engineers and IT people and stuff. In New York, we're generalizing a little bit here, but you're mostly talking to cab drivers and Uber drivers and bus drivers and a lot of times laborers. You don't talk to a room full of doctors and engineers. It's not like that, okay? And so then some people were giving 1,000, and I know they drive a cab. I know this brother drives a cab, he gives 1,000. And all these brothers who gave these amounts, and plus things are expensive in New York, right? And they would just come and pull me aside 2 days later, 3 days later, 1 week later. One guy pulled me aside, he says, "On a good day, I make 250 a day, on a good day." He said, "When I gave that 1,000 for the masjid, I made 441 in the first day, 400 plus on the second day. Yani on a good day, the whole year, he makes 250. This guy just doubled it immediately the next day, and doubled it the next day, and doubled his best day, you understand? Al-Muhim, and they just kept coming at me with story after story of how they got it back immediately. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala these are lessons. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, don't worry about it in the future. Khalas, you know, you gave, you got it right back, you shouldn't be scared next time. And all these deals and all these bonuses and pluses, just so we can give and not worry. Also some interesting things, yani. I just want to close with a few interesting things about sadaqah also. Not unknown things, but just reminders. Yani. One of them, the Prophet ﷺ tells you the best sadaqah you can give is the one you give while you are sahihun shahih. Sahih, in good health. Yani, you don't amass wealth your whole life, then when you're 96 and then the doctor tells you there's 6 months left, suddenly, mashallah, he's giving left and right. Khalas, he's leaving the earth and he wants to give everything. Yeah, you know, you can't benefit from it. But it's a bigger deal when you're giving and you're sahih, you're healthy and everything, and you're, as far as you know, expect to live a long life, and you've got this wealth, give that. It's better than you give it later on because you're on your deathbed. Shahih, what's shuh? Shuh. Yeah, it's like greed, stinginess, miserliness, you know. So when you want to keep it for yourself, okay, let's put it this way. A simple example, yeah. And this is the thing. A lot of us, we have maybe business ideas or just dreams of one day, you know, making $1 million. And everybody has a plan. If they get $1 million, what they will do for Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? If I get $1 million, this school will get that much. This masjid will get, everybody, right? And I know people who play the lottery based on this dream of doing khair. If I get $1 million, Allah will see what I will do for His religion. Tell me, Habibi, okay. If you get $1 million, I know you will give some to the masjid. I know for a fact you will. Okay? That's not what you need to explain to Allah. You spending that $1 million on His house. What you have to explain is that dollar when you lose, because you will lose. Yani. You have to explain that dollar. How do you justify this $1? That's the big deal, you know. Anyways, what were we saying? Yeah. So giving now, while you're just whatever, moderate income, broke, what the sadaqat you'll give now will have more weight than when you're the millionaire. Not saying don't give when you're the millionaire, but now they have much more value. Because when you give 1,000 now, and you just have 1,000 in the bank, and then you give 10,000 later on, and you have $1 million in the bank, it's a big difference, right? So these are just extra points. And if any of us are in that stage now, then it's just encouragement to give now. When you're a millionaire, and you will give, inshallah, but now it's valuable because you're expecting wealth and you're expecting to live a long life. Giving now is more valuable. That's one. The other thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala labeled your wealth as not your wealth, as His wealth. This is in Surat An-Nur, and it's really beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about marrying off people who are unable to get married, and slaves, people in the community. So Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَآتُوهُمْ مِن مَالِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ, and give them from Allah's wealth that He gave you. He didn't call it your wealth. It's not beautiful? Give them from Allah's money that He's just keeping with you temporarily. And that is so much the reality of money. Whatever is in your pocket now, your $100 bill, you put your hand in there and you check that it's there, right? Okay, nobody took it during Salah, fantastic. And you hold on to it, this is my 100. And if you found it on the floor, if you dropped, someone grabbed it, you thought, that's my 100, my 100. 2 weeks ago, it was in some other person's pocket, and he was saying, this is my $100 bill. And then just a few hours from now, you're going to give it to some other business owner. It's going to go into his register, and this is my 100. And it left you. And it's going to leave him soon, and it's just going to keep moving like that. It's Allah's money. It just temporarily stays with you, and then it just keeps moving. And it will move out of your pocket. It's inevitable. True or false? Yeah. You want to see a magic trick? Break a 20. Disappears, right? So it's going to move. It's going to move. But if you give it, then it stays with you in another. You convert it to a currency that goes and works in the akhirah. Just like if I'm going somewhere, I take dollars and I convert them to a currency that works there. You can take anything with you, convert it to an ajr, and that's the currency that works in the akhirah. But the point is that the term is so beautiful, the wording is so beautiful. وَآتُوهُمْ مِن مَالِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ. Give them from Allah's money that He gave you. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's money, and He keeps it with us, and it just circulates amongst us, so you might as well give from it. Or it's going to go anyways. It's just a beautiful thought. Then the last thing I want to close with concerning sadaqah is that why didn't the Prophet ﷺ eat sadaqah? Eat from the sadaqah. We all know this, right? The Prophet ﷺ did not eat from the sadaqah. Yes, everyone heard this? Yeah? Who wants to tell us why? Who heard? مثلا? I'm going to give you one explanation. There could be others out there. Yeah? It is, but why this sign?
Because it affects his message as a prophet.
Kif?
He might seek something else other than Allah's pleasure. Like he might seek people's money.
Okay, it's a good thought to keep everything pure, huh? All right. Anything else?
Because the hand that takes is the lower hand. So as Brother said, that it does affect, the honorable status.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, right? Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the hand that takes will always be lower than the hand that receives. And if someone gives you like this, they always have the upper hand, and your hand is lower. You're always in the weaker position, right? And it's not befitting for the Prophet of Allah ﷺ to be in this lower position of receiving from people, getting charity. Then, yes?
Trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That has a part to play, no doubt. Trusting in Allah Azza wa Jal. The scholars mentioned something really, really interesting, really nice, which is actually a good point for us and encourages us to give sadaqah. They said, لأن الصدقة مزجت بالذنوب. The sadaqah is mixed with sins. What do sadaqat do? They remove sins from you, right? I've got a lot of sins. What do? I get rid of them. How do I get rid of them? Istighfar and all the other stuff, but also through sadaqah. I get rid of that. So if you have $20 in your pocket now, you've got some sins. Sins attach themselves to that money. You want to get rid of the sin? Give it away with money, and it goes away. It leaves you like that. So because the sadaqah, when people give it, it takes away their sins with them. And so it's as if the sadaqat are laced with people's sins. They're taking away people's sins. It is not befitting for the Prophet of Allah ﷺ to be consuming and taking of what cleanses other people of their sins. This thing mixed with sins. It's very beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. But what it does for us, it encourages us to give, so we can get rid of our sins with our money. You want to get rid of some sins? Get rid of some money. It'll just magnet. It'll just pull sins away with it, inshallah. All right. And then, okay. I had something here about water and sadaqah, and I don't know, I'll just say it quickly. You know, Sa'd ibn Ubadah radiallahu anhu, the companion, he was the leader of Al-Khazraj, and he was able, because he's a leader, he's able to give of anything, right? So his mother dies, and he goes to the Prophet ﷺ, and he's asked the Prophet ﷺ, does she benefit if I give charity on her behalf? And the Prophet ﷺ says, yes, وَعَلَيْكَ بِالْمَاءِ, yes, and specifically, water, or focus on water, giving water in charity. Now the scholars say back then they didn't have water in bottles, and you couldn't buy a case of bottles and give it out. So how would you give water as sadaqah back then? Dig a well. You would dig a well. And and that's why the Prophet even said, whoever buys the well of Roma, man ishtara bi'r Roma, فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ, he will have al-Jannah. And Uthman radiallahu anhu bought the well because it's something great. And the scholars even use the verse in Surat Al-A'raf that the people of the hellfire, when they just wished for one thing, أَنْ أَفِيضُوا عَلَيْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ, just pour some water on us. That's all they want, right? But just a thing about the value of water, it's just so interesting. One of the most amazing scholars, his name was Amir al-Sha'bi. Amir al-Sha'bi was a fantastic scholar, very wise man. Just his biography is just so incredible. And he, for those who want to place him, he was the generation of scholars before the scholars before Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. Yeah. So he used to say, when he wanted to tell someone, give me water, he would tell him, isqini ahwanu mawjud wa ashadda mafqud. It's very beautiful, right? He would tell him, give me, ahwan is like, ahwan mawjud, something that when it's abundant and when it's present, it has no value. Nobody cares much for it. Like right now in this room, this has no value to it. Whatever. There's the fountain right there. There's water. The store is open. There's water faucets all over the bathroom. There's many stores with water in it. This has no value. Now, right now, if this was solid gold, if this was like a heavy gold, bar shaped like a thing, it would be like so valuable right now. So water, when it's present and you're at a lake or whatever, it has no value to you. It's just water, right? But وَأَشَدَّ مَفْقُودٍ, when it's mafquda, when it's not there and you don't have it, it's the most valuable thing. And it's just so amazing that someone who values bars of gold or gems or what have you, if they're in the desert and they're dying of thirst, and you tell them, look, I'll give you a sip, this much water, for all the stuff that you have with you, what do you think will happen? Do you think they might even think about it or try to give you half or negotiate or use their negotiating skills, business skills? Take it, just give it to me, right? So it's just such a nice way of saying, look at this thing, that when there's so much of it, you give it no value. But if you don't have it, it becomes more valuable than anything on this planet. I don't want to get too crass here, but even liquid leaving you, because it has water in it, people will drink it back in, right? I don't want to get too crass, but you know what I'm saying, right? And everyone's like, I could never do that, I could never. Oh, then you go to the desert. You'll do that to sorry, Sheikh Abdullah. I had another point from this. Yeah, I always like saying, it's just so amazing, this thing called water, that in and of itself, it doesn't have nutritional value in and of itself. I know it has a few minerals and whatever, but so there's so many things that have vitamins in them, multiple vitamins and protein and all this stuff. But the one thing that doesn't have anything specifically of value inside it, if you don't have it in 3 days, you die. Isn't that interesting, Other things with vitamins and this, but you can live without them sometimes 30 up to 41 days. But the thing that in and of itself doesn't have vitamins or this, or even the minerals, just negligible amount in there, electrolytes, okay, fine. But in the end, there's nothing really of value in it. The value is, I don't know, in and of itself. Al-Muhim, I don't know, this is just, I don't think it's resonating with anybody, but just for me, I always think about how water in and of itself, there's nothing in it, but it's just so essential to your survival. And if you don't have it, it becomes the most valuable thing ever. Naam?
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every time He mentions something of worldly in the Quran, He mentions something that is created. For example, like when he's talking about people like, you know, getting changed up or whatever, he talks about the seed getting watered or whatever from the sky. And the Quran itself has been example like the water that comes down from the sky to us. Do you think that has anything to do with what you just said, as water is present, it has a value?
I don't
know if I'm actually making the question clear.
I'm not even sure if I completely understand, but it's actually you're asking me something that I've never sat down and contemplated, so I don't know. Probably talk to Sheikh Abdullah about that. I don't know, but it's a good thought. It's worth examining the verses and seeing that relationship, if that or that link is there. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's what then والمتصدقين والمتصدقات, those who give in sadaqah, male, and those who give in sadaqah, the females. And we see the excellence of sadaqah and how it shows the truthfulness of the individual. It's linked to dua. It's just amazing, amazing, amazing. You know something interesting, and I always wondered, like, I would love if somebody would ever do this one time. Someone who has a lot of time on their hands, then they go just get a part-time job just so they can give everything from that part-time job for sadaqah. And maybe the guy has a consistent, steady part-time job, and he has some free time, so he gets another part-time job, but all the money from that job goes straight to sadaqah. I would love for someone to do that one time. I don't have the time for that, but I would love for someone to do that. Because the companions used to do that. They would get a job so they could have money to give sadaqah. Okay? Besides for Tabuk and for times when the companions would go and do some kind of work, and they would get a mud, just 2 handfuls of dates, and then they would come and give it to the Prophet ﷺ for the army of Tabuk. And the army was huge, and what will this much dates do? But they just wanted to be part of that. So they got a job just so they can give. And a poor companion would be sitting at home, and he feels like doing an act of worship. What's his act of worship? Sadaqah. A poor person who feels like giving in sadaqah. So his children are hungry, his wife is hungry, he's hungry. He goes and gets a job, and then he gets money for that job, and he gives it as sadaqah. Doesn't take it home. That's the equivalent in our times of just getting a job, and then all the money from that all the paychecks go straight to the poor, because you just wanted to do that for that. That's very noble, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very noble. Anyways, let's finish, huh? It's been a while. How long have we been speaking? So I was really hoping to finish the verse today. We've been speaking for 45 minutes. طيب, let's see if we can just finish this. Yeah. والصائمين والصائمات والصائمين والصائمات. And now, not too much talk about fasting here, but the Prophet ﷺ said, الصوم زكاة البدن. Fasting is the zakah of the body. Zakah purifies. So if you purify, and it's like you giving zakah through the body, it's fasting, and it will purify you. Now, the only thing I wanted to say about fasting, actually just 2 things. Number 1, the Prophet ﷺ specifically mentioned it as one of the things to do if you're single. The hadith, the famous hadith, Ya ma'shar al-shabab. He's speaking to the youth, to the young people. Ya ma'shar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'ata falyatazawwaj. Whoever of you is able to provide al-ba'a, then let him get married. What is al-ba'a? Be careful. You read in the classical books, al-ba'a is the bare minimum, a few bites to sustain you per day, a few bites to sustain you, and anything to cover your head. A roof, anything over your head. Now, this was the definition a lot of classical scholars put, because that was what is al-ba'a at their time period. You understand? If I put four sticks and some animal skin on top and throw some things on the side, do I have a home back then? It's acceptable, because my neighbor, his house is made of mud. The guy over there has a tent. So I'm not that much below the standards in the community, right? But today, if I go and I want to marry a girl, and then her father says, what do you have? She says, Wallahi, I found a bridge under the highway. And it's like nobody's there. Alhamdulillah, I put some blankets. Alhamdulillah. And then I found a donut store. Every day at 3 p.m. they throw fresh bagels and stuff. So we will eat that. And enjoy the rest of the evening with her father. It's not as acceptable now. So what's al-ba'a for our time today then? What? Naam?
Second.
Yeah, what is the minimum acceptable kind of shelter? So that might be an efficiency or a studio, what they call it now, or a one bedroom. That's acceptable. But don't tell me I have some camping gear and a tent and this area that's free. There are no hobos. We're going to sit there. So that's al-ba'a for our time period. And then providing, the meals that are standards. Back then, you lived poor. So if you ate a few bites a day, you bring a few bites to your wife. That's it. You bring a few bites to your wife now. Just a little bit like this. Huh? All right. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying, speaking to the youth, whoever of you is able to provide al-ba'a, the bare minimum of food and shelter, فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ, and let him get married. It doesn't have to be extravagant. Then, فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ. It is أغض للبصر. Al-basar is the glance, the gaze. أغض, الغض هو النقصان, to decrease, to take away from. So it takes away from your glance, يعني your haram glance, meaning looking and ogling women and so on. Then, I said ogling women, I didn't say ugly women. Somebody laughed like I said يعني staring at women. فإنه أغض للبصر وأحصن للفرج, and it is يعني better protection for the private part. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, so this is marriage as a remedy here. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء. And whoever cannot do that, then let him fast, and it will be a protection for him. When we were in school, يعني university, we had people with us who would fast every other day for 10 years. For 10 years. Why? Because they couldn't get married, and the Prophet ﷺ said, you can't get married, fast. They were champs. They took it seriously. 10 years, I know some 15 years, but they used to fast like champs. Why? Because we're single, we can't afford marriage right now, so we fast. What happens now is that people come to you, and I'm sorry for taking so long, but people come to you and say, this is a true story. A guy comes to me, and this was in Canada when I lived there. He comes and says, it's summer. People are not dressed well, مش عارف mini skirts, descriptive. And he says, we need a solution. We can't work full time because we study full time. We're not making enough money to have a home and everything, so we can't get married. So you, and by you he means shuyukh, imams, whatever he's lumping me together with, need to find us a solution. Then he says, don't tell me to fast. Don't tell me lower your gaze, inshallah. Don't tell me sabr, be patient. Give me a solution. What do you want me to do? I was going to tell you all these things, but you just slaughtered all my answers. And basically, the only option you leave is okay, here, marry my daughter. That's the only option you left me right now. I don't have that option. But okay, let me rephrase what this guy said. And you tell me if this is not what he said. Look, it's this and that, and it's difficult, and we can't get married. But don't give me the solution of Allah Azza wa Jalla and His Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Don't tell me to fast like they said. Don't tell me lower the gaze like Allah commanded in the Quran. But you give me a solution. Isn't that what they're saying? Yani, Allah Azza wa Jalla gives you a solution, you don't take it. The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gives you a solution, you don't take it. Then you come to some imam, as if he's going to have an answer that Allah Azza wa Jalla didn't have, astaghfirullah, or the Prophet ﷺ didn't have. طيب, did you behave like a champ with the solution of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the Prophet ﷺ? If you did it like a champion, then you have a situation. Yani, hatta fasting didn't calm you down, let's find some doctor for you. But you didn't even do that and you want a solution. You understand what I'm saying? Yani, they tell you, have you tried this? Okay, yes, I tried it, now it doesn't work, now we'll try to find some other remedy. But if you haven't tried it, why are you asking for a solution? So it's right there. So fast like a champ. If you fast like a champ and you lower your gaze like a champ, yani not peeking and stuff, lower your gaze like a champ, you will not even feel the pressures of being single. Not in this society, not in any society. Now, most people are just staring all day, looking over here, looking over there, on TV and live and in person, not fasting, and then they get home, Allah, I'm stressed. Tabi habibi, you're stressed because you were filling your head all day. It's really easy. If you do that, you will not feel any pressure. But it's the solution the Prophet ﷺ gave. Most people don't do it, then they keep complaining. So, and single brothers, do not complain about being single. Yani, there's just some single brothers who are like, this is, Then he marries, gets married. I know some people like this, I'm not making this up. Same guy comes to you. What now? Well, now I can't hang out with my friends until late night. I can't spend the night with them. تهبل. You want to get married so you can go and spend the night with your friend? ما بتفهم انت? No brains? I want to hang out with my... Just spend the night with your video games like before وخلاص. Anyways, معلش, we're getting angry here. Alright, the other hadith we wanted to mention is in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, and concerning fasting. Again, we want to take advantage of things related to the acts of worship that spill into other acts of worship. Let's put it that way. So the Prophet ﷺ said, ثَلَاثَةٌ لَا تُرَدُّ دَعْوَتُهُم. 3, their da'wah, their dua, their supplication is not returned, turned back. Your dua will be answered. Al-Imam al-Adil. And Imam al-Adil, the scholar said, any fair and just leader, not just imam like here in the masjid, any leader of a group of people who is fair and just with them, he is an imam al-adil. All right, so their dua is not returned, their dua will be answered. Then 2, was-saimu hina yuftir, and the fasting person as he's breaking his fast. And then wada'atul mazlum, and then the dua of the one who is oppressed. So fasting and dua. So it spills over to dua now. And I know someone whose father didn't pray, so he fasted every other day for 10 years. You with me? He fasted every other day for 10 years, and every single time he broke his fast, he made dua for Allah to guide his father. That's dedication, I think. That's someone who loves his father. He says, I know this dua will not be refused. 10 years he's fasting every other day. He fasts today, breaks the day, next day. Even when he got married, at night, next morning he woke up fasting. His wife got angry, he broke his fast, but otherwise, that's how he was dedicated to it, committed to it. And anyways, where are we? Let's finish. We're done here. And then the last thing, وَالْحَافِظِينَ فُرُوجَهُمْ وَالْحَافِظَاتِ, those who protect and guard their private parts, male and female. And you guard the private part from anything that is haram to unite with. So the only place that's halal is the spouse, right? In our day and age, it's the spouse, because the concubine, the mulk al-yamin, that's gone. So right now, khalas, if it's not that, it's not halal. It's not halal. I don't think we have to get into details. Khalas, it's not the wife, no. Finished. Do we have to get into details? I think it's clear. If it's not the wife or it's not the husband, it's not okay. Bas. I don't know how you try to squeeze an okay in there. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, this is Surat al-Mu'minun, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ, and those who guard their privates. Now look at the exceptions. إِلَّا عَلَى أَزْوَاجِهِمْ, except against their spouse. You don't guard your private against your spouse. أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُهُمْ, or what their right hand possesses. And we don't have that anymore, right? Okay. If we have it, send me the Amazon link, huh? And then, if you have Prime, she'll be there in 2 days. We don't have it, don't worry about it. We don't have it. Alhamdulillah, we don't have it. Look. فَإِنَّهُمْ غَيْرُ مَلُومِينَ, they're not blameworthy. With these 2 categories, they're not blameworthy. فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ, whoever seeks anything besides other than that or besides that, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ, then they were those who were trespassers. I think it's clear, right? Then وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, those who mention Allah much, male and female. And then Allah says أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, Allah has prepared, it's already been taken care of, past tense, it's already been prepared for them, forgiveness and a great reward, أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, meaning al-Jannah. That's the end of the verse. So we ended the verse, but I want to go back to وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, those who mention Allah much and those women who mention Allah much. Okay. Khalas, I think it's been too long. But I said this before, we repeated this before. We said dhikr of Allah. Your life is time. Time isn't money. Time isn't money. That's nonsense. People tell you time is money. Time is money if I'm calculating something business-wise. All right? And one time this guy visited me, and I had built a scratching post for my cat. He said, "Where'd you buy that?" I said, "I built it." He said, "How much did it cost you?" I said, "I went to cut lumber at the Lowe's or whatever. They have the lumber that's cut. They give it to you like for $1.25 because it's already cut They call them project ends or something like that. The leftovers. So I said those, he said, I told him this piece cost $1, that piece cost like $1 something, okay? And the carpeting, I said, we installed new carpeting, and these were leftover pieces. So it's brand new carpeting, I just stapled it on there. He said, okay, and how much time did it take you to build it? I said, it took me this many hours. He said, then it was not worth it. Because you have to factor in your time, because time is money. And if your time is worth, let's say, $15 an hour, and it took you an hour and a half, then it would have been smarter for you to just walk into the store and buy one for like $30 or something like that. And I said, that is the dumbest calculation I've ever heard in my life. Because you're missing a lot of things here. First of all, you're not factoring also the enjoyment I got from building it, right? Or do you factor all your life by calculating time? Yani, money. Yani, if I watch a cartoon with my children, I said, okay, this cartoon is costing me $30, it's 2 hours, okay. My child is telling me, you know, his eventful day, this, baba, and that, and I thought, okay, all right, son, khalas, go now, all right? Or if anything you do, then you're going to calculate it like that. What about enjoyment? What about this? The same guy will slack off and watch a movie that's 3 hours long, but he wants to calculate his half an hour on building a device. So when being taught that your time is money, it's not money. It's your life. We're sitting here, I know this is dramatic, but we're dying right now. True or false? Even while your health improves, you're dying. Because every second you're getting closer to your grave. The minute you were born, you started dying actually. I know a guy in the UK for da'wah purposes, he told his co-worker, non-Muslim, he told him, I just wanted to let you know that I'm dying. And the guy's like, oh my God, is there anything we can do? And how much do you have left? He's like, I don't know how much I have left. But and then he tells him, but he's like, well, and what is it? He's like, no, I don't have anything, but I'm still dying. You're dying too, and you don't know how much you have left. And I know that make you upset, but it took this guy, non-Muslim, it took him, he was just so taken by it. He said, I've never thought of that. And that is so right. We're all dying, and we all don't know when we're going to die. It just moved him so much, yani. All right, don't do it at work, just too. But the point is that our time, our life is time. Our life is time, and it's just passing like this. And every day passes, you're getting closer to your grave. And so we said that you will spend 3.5 years of your life total in your car, driving around. You'll spend 3 years, probably more now, eating. You will spend anywhere from 9 to 12 years of your life watching television. You will spend 3.5 years of your life brushing your teeth and sitting on the toilet. Not at the same time, of course. But maybe you should do it at the same time, as you could save some time, right? You will spend 6 months of your life waiting in line. You will spend 5 months of your life complaining, they say, right? For women, 9 months. I just made that up. I'm kidding. You will spend you will spend 11 years at work. You will spend 2 years of your life at the office in meetings at work. This is your life. It's just passing by. 1/3 of it is spent sleeping. Sleeping. And then the rest, whatever little you have to spend with your family and your wife and give time to Allah Azza wa Jal. You know how much time, of all your life, put it all together, how much time you will spend on the 5 obligatory salawat. Not taraweeh and extra prayers. 5 obligatory salawat. Huh? Little better than a few months. Better than that. A year. A year. Yahi, we're going to meet Allah Azza wa Jal with a year of obligatory salah and 3 years on the toilet? Wallahi, it's shameful. That's where our life is going. That's where it's going. Time is just passing like this. So, you will spend 20 weeks of your life on hold. Your friend tells you, hold on a second. The companies put you on hold, you're listening to elevator music. 20 weeks. So, your time is passing. And I'm going to say this and we close, okay? It was a longer talk about dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. I'm just giving the short end of it here. The only way that I personally know of to take back your life is through dhikr of Allah. And if you know any other way, I always say this, if you know any other way, please tell me what it is. But the only way to take back your life is through dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. So we said to say Subhanallah wa bihamdi 100 times, slowly, at normal speed. Because some people, when they make dhikr of Allah, it's super speed. Some people after salah, what's their tasbih? Hamdulillah, 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 hamdulillah. In the end, he's just saying hamla, hamla, hamla. And then lakbar, 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 subhanallah, 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 subhanallah. And wallahi, true story, there was this lady, she used to say subhanallah once and count it twice. And I'm glad she doesn't use her feet. So, to say subhanallah bihamdihi 100 times at normal speed, it takes 2 minutes 15 seconds to 2 minutes 30 seconds. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah. Just at normal speed. 2 minutes 15 seconds to 2 minutes 30 seconds. Subhanallah bihamdihi 100 times. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says it 100 times, there will be nobody on the day of judgment who's done better than him except for someone who said it more. I said this in class one time. An old man put his hand up. He said, my father, rahimahullah, used to say it 10,000 times a day. Subhanallah bihamdihi. 10,000 times a day. We have to be gathered on the same plane as this man who said it 10,000 times a day. So what if I am just going to give you an example of time and dhikr, taking back your life with dhikr. If every time I'm on hold, and for my life I'm going to end up on hold for 20 straight weeks. What does that mean? Yani all the time I stayed on hold on the phone, if you put it together, that's like 20 straight weeks of me just sitting like this, listening to elevator music. What if I make a deal with myself? Every time someone tells me, please hold, whether it's a friend or a company, I start saying, subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanallah bihamdihi. By the time I died, when I waited on hold for 20 weeks, you know how many times I would have said subhanallah bihamdihi? 8,064,000 times. That's how you take your life back. Wallahi, you go to the store and come back. You know, one of these things. Where is it? It's in my other packet. You know those little clickers, electronic Khatam al-Tasbih, they call it. Tasbih ring, dhikr ring. They're like 30 cents on Amazon. Usually we buy like 100, you know, give them to your friends. The batteries die after a while, just keep clicking it. You go to the store and come back. Any other day you just go to the store and come back. Answer phone, text, whatever. But if you put this thing on your finger, you come back. Oh, 2,000. My kids, my son will go to the store and come back. He said, Baba, look, 2,000 times I said astaghfirullah. He otherwise wouldn't have done it, yani. Take back your life like that. Yes, sir.
What about the sincerity that goes in with it? This applies to just
excellent.
Multiple of the things you said, whether it was sadaqah, whether it was the dhikr. I mean, I can map in.
Good.
In my car ride to work, I'll make that my dhikr time.
Okay.
I'll say stuff for.
And sometimes you're not paying attention.
I'm not.
Excellent.
I'm already at work and
Okay.
I already know.
I've been saying this for years, but just today I just checked with 5 scholars just to be extra sure that I'm not spreading some nonsense. Just today I checked with 5 different scholars about the same issue, making dua without paying attention. They said don't worry about it. Because look at the analogy to salah. Yani salah, your heart's supposed to be there, it's supposed to be focused. طيب, if the guy is not focused in his salah, we tell him leave? Yani if you're praying dhuhr and you're not focused with your heart, do you just step out of salah? Walk away? Brothers like, what happened? I wasn't feeling it. You still do it. It's a salah that has less ajr. So the best dhikr is with your tongue is making the movement and your heart is feeling it. But lower than that, your tongue is making it, even if your heart is not paying attention. It's fine. It's still dhikr. Less reward, but it's reward. And it trains us to mention Allah Azza wa Jalla so that we can leave this world mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I told you about a friend of mine that was going to Isha prayer. He told me, I'm going to Isha prayer and this car almost hit me. The masjid was across the street from a highway. He said, this car almost hit me, and as I jumped out of its way, I said a bad word. He said, if the car would have killed me, I would have left earth saying that bad word. But if my tongue is always used to saying, making dhikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, even if it's not focused dhikr, as the shaitan will trick you. If it's not focused dhikr, don't do it. La, it's training me. So the old man, and I'll close with this, I promise, the old man came to the Prophet, well actually it was a man, the narrator says a man came to the Prophet and said, the commands have become a lot in the Sharia for me, just give me something. Let's see here. I don't want to paraphrase too pathetically here. Yeah? He said, Ya Rasulullah, inna shara'i al-Islam qad kathurat alay. He said, all the rulings of Islam have become too many upon me. فَأَخْبِرْنِي بِشَيْءٍ أَتَشَبَّثُ bihi. Give me something that I can hang on to, like just stick to. Alright? أتمسك به, hang on to. قال لا يزال لسانك رطبا من ذكر الله تعالى. In Sunan Tirmidhi. Just let your tongue be moist with the dhikr of Allah. I heard a scholar say something really interesting. He said that the tongue is always moist, right? Your tongue is in your mouth, it's always moist. Yeah? True? So the Prophet is saying, let your tongue always be moist with the remembrance of Allah. He said, if you put your tongue out how long will it take for it to start drying out? The Sheikh said 5 seconds. I'm like, no, your tongue is quite wet. It'll take more than 5 seconds. So at home, I stuck my tongue out today, and actually in 5 seconds, it starts drying up. So, yeah, right? What's funny about that? Did you put your tongue out? It starts drying up quickly, 5 seconds, not like 10 or 5 seconds. So the Sheikh said something interesting. It means it's saying, don't stop for even 5 seconds. Jamil wala la? Badr, you know, don't stop for 5 seconds, guys. It's still beautiful, isn't it? Yeah? Yeah, so khalas, I really apologize. We usually don't go for this long, but jazakumullah khair for your patience. And so now what's going to happen is you're going to be in the capable hands of Sheikh Abdullah. May Allah bring benefit to the community through him. He's going to be doing usul al-fiqh Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next 2 weeks. So, and I'm not even going to be in the country, but so do come and take the class with the Sheikh Tuesdays, Thursdays, same time even, right?
Not this Thursday,
starting next year. So Tuesday, Thursday, and then Sheikh Walid comes the Tuesday after that, which is the 24th or something. The one near that. 19th, okay. But again, sorry for keeping you for so long. Jazakumullah khair for your attentive listening. Sallallahu barak ala Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.